Kevin McCarthy's having a good week. Joe Biden, not so much. A Democrat senator stealing Bibles. And what happened with the mantle of Rush Limbaugh? This is Steve Elliott with Brian Connor with today's VIP briefing. Brian, lots going on in the news today.
Yes, lots. Big week. A lot of stuff out of D.C. And let's get right to it.
Let's do it. You know, Kevin McCarthy had a big week with the Win, Play, Show Act. What is that thing called again? You don't remember either, do you?
Well, now I know it's limit, save, grow.
Limit, save, grow. That's
limit, save, grow. You put me on the spot there. That's not fair.
Anyways, lots of good things in it, and that he basically kept almost the whole coalition together, and they voted yesterday and passed the bill. The limits budget growth set to the 2022 levels of 1% increase per year. This is the biggest component to me, Brian, because it goes against all the baseline budgeting, which has happened for years, which, as our team members probably know, that what they would do, what they and the government would do is they would add 5, 6, 8, 10% to last year's budget, consider that the baseline, and then they would do cuts of 1 or 2% below a 6% increase and said they cut, which was actually they weren't cutting. They were cutting back on their guaranteed increase. So this actually would actually get rid of that and limit the growth of government to 1% a year, cutting wasteful spending, rescinding the unpaid COVID money, prohibiting the $600 billion student loan fiasco that Joe Biden is still pushing. Brian, what are your thoughts on what happened, what transpired in the House?
I thought McCarthy did an excellent job bringing the Republicans together. He squeaked it out by a 2-vote margin, and there was some last-minute wrangling going on. But essentially, this bill reins in runaway government spending while also defunding significant parts of Joe Biden's America Last agenda.
Right.
And McCarthy's just shown himself to be, I think, who conservatives hoped he would be as the Speaker of the House.
Well, let's hear from McCarthy here. Just a little bit of his.
You continue to raise. You guys have been wrong. You've underestimated us. But you know the one place they haven't underestimated? The American public. Why? Because those are the people we are working for, day in and day out. And just as it took me 15 rounds to win Speaker, the one thing I have promised the American public, I will never give up on you. So what we did today was raise the debt limit, stop the wasteful Washington spending, and curb inflation, and put us on a path that we can continue.
That's pretty good, Brian. I mean, it's very well stated. He's starting to sound like a pretty strong leader.
It sounded Trumpian, if you ask me. And
I don't know if that's a good thing to sound too Trumpy, and you can get yourself in trouble. You might end up in a New York court.
Well, the way that Trump's doing in the polls these days, I don't think it'll hurt. And I think, McCarthy's not really putting anything on. I think that's just how he is, how he sees it. He comes prepared to deal with the hostile media. And one of the great things that we haven't mentioned yet about this bill is that it's going to lower the nation's debt by about, almost $5 trillion over the course of 10 years. And it was really funny because at first, Republicans were saying, oh, it'll be like $4.5 trillion. But then the Congressional Budget Office came out, CBO, and said, well, over 10 years, this bill would save $4.8 trillion. Right. So it's actually better than, what was originally expected. So, it's going on to the Senate now. There's going to be a battle there. And it's very unlikely that it'll pass there because of the 60-vote majority that'll be needed. But it's basically a shot across the bow to try and force Joe Biden to negotiate on, a bill that will keep the government funded through, whether it's mid-June or mid-July at this point. They're not really sure. But there's a, government shutdown looming, and they need to do what they can to avoid a default.
Right. And there's two things of brilliance in this. First of all, what McCarthy's doing, Democrats have always used these debates to accuse the Republicans of defaulting and threatening to shut down the government. Now McCarthy has passed a bill that will increase the debt limit, saying, okay, if you guys want to default, then it's your fault. The second thing he's doing is he's only doing it for 1 year, Brian. So this makes it an election year next year again. Let's listen to another clip from McCarthy.
Eliminate the wasteful spending. I told the president we could sit down. No parameters. The only thing I would tell him is no clean debt ceiling is going to pass the House. We can't do that to our children and grandchildren. We're at $31 trillion of debt. The CBO has said that we will pay $10.5 trillion just in interest in the next 10 years. Even though if you look at from 1940 till today, in those 83 years, we've only spent $9 trillion. We spend 17% of our taxpayers' revenue that's coming in just on paying interest. That's a waste. We can do better. The president said, well, I'm not going to talk to him until he offers a plan. Not only did we offer a plan, we passed it. So for more than 80 days, he's ignored the problem. Before more,
You know, he really kind of lays it out pretty strongly there, Brian, that
Yeah.
that there's a crisis. Republicans have a plan. Republicans passed a plan. It's in your lap. What are you going to do with it?
Well, if you're an everyday American, who's struggling with this kind of debt, based on your income, you would have to have a plan. I mean, you can't just continue to go to a credit card company and say, yeah, I need you to increase my debt limit,
Right.
or increase my credit limit. And
Right.
that's what they continue to do. And then when, like, just what McCarthy said there about, we pay $10 trillion just in debt.
Right.
Any family who has to deal with credit card debt knows that. And especially in light of inflation and how the rates have increased. I mean, a lot of people, because of their credit cards are based on the prime rate, their 18 or 15 percent credit card is now at 21 or 24%. And so
Right.
we can't keep doing this. It's insanity. And that's why, Grassfire, you've seen it if you're a VIP member, are Stop the Insanity Fax Fires, trying to get Republicans to continue to push on both the House and the Senate to rein in this crazy government spending.
It really is absolutely insane. And another thing that's insane, Brian, is what's happening. We have the special section in that morning briefing. If you're not a VIP, please, you're watching this special invitation, please become a VIP. Help Grassfire fight this battle right now. It's very, very important time. But you get, as part of these morning briefings, Joe's America, Brian. Give us 30 seconds on Joe's America.
Well, it was just something that you and I came up with because we've talked about it many times. We'll see things in the news and you're just like, man, only under Joe Biden, or, welcome to Joe Biden's America, because there's just things that are happening now that are bad. Some of them are unprecedented. We haven't seen them before, but some of them just, harken back to a day and time that, we don't want to remember and we don't want to be part of. So we take these stories and we just kind of put them out there for you guys to see different things. They could be, things that are happening in Congress, could be crime, could be things with regard to international news, and America's weakness on the world stage. And it just kind of is a snapshot of where we are right now. And I think a lot of our team members, especially our VIP members, this is not where they want America to be.
Right. And here's something else that's unprecedented that we're getting from Joe Biden. Note cards. I guess we've seen these before, Brian, but this is even more detail. He's speaking to the press for the first time in who knows how long, and he's got note cards with the picture of the reporter, the name of the reporter, what their area is, what their question is going to be, and what his answer should be. It's unbelievable.
These cards are getting bigger, and it seems more detailed. And it's just something that, I mean, you have to wonder about as, the so-called leader of the free world. And also, the media, which is supposed to be, known as the fourth estate, which is supposed to be keeping the three branches of government in check, the other three estates. And to see that, journalists, so-called journalists, see, I stumbled with the word journalists, giving their questions ahead of time and then being agreed to be called upon in order. Right. I mean, that's just ridiculous to me. I mean, in a former life, I was a journalist, and that would never happen. Like, you talk about subject matter and things like that with someone you're going to interview, but at a press conference, when you're supposed to be just calling out questions, to have, Joe Biden standing there with detailed notes like that, it's not a good sign.
Yeah, it's just a part of the insanity, the Joe's America insanity, that this is even acceptable. Could you imagine if Trump had done that, show up with note cards? The media would have never allowed him to have pre-screened specific questions. And it's just like, we're not going to spend a lot of time on this, but in our briefing, you had a state senator from Arizona who was actually stealing Bibles out of the foyer because she apparently doesn't want people to read the Bibles, or she wants them herself. It's just part of the total insanity. But Brian, we got a little bit of time left. I just want to make sure we get to this because last time in the VIP briefing, we made a big announcement. We said the mantle for Rush Limbaugh had rested upon someone in the media, and that was Tucker Carlson. Now, I guess we didn't realize that that mantle was pretty heavy. It would have resulted.
I'm blaming you, Steve. I'm blaming you in the pre-crimes division because you were prescient. And I think that you felt that like this guy is becoming the kind of voice for conservatism that Rush Limbaugh used to be.
Right.
And then 3 days later he gets fired. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, I'm gonna withhold extending any more mantles to anyone, certainly anybody I know, Brian. It'll only be people I don't like apparently from now on. But yeah, it's really pretty amazing. And then Tucker went on at 8 o'clock on Twitter, and we'll talk about that in a second. And at last count, was it 35 million people had watched? No, you said it was more than that.
50. Well, that was at 11 o'clock this morning. It was when I checked last. It was 50 million people had seen it.
Put that in context, Brian. About 100 million people watched the largest television event in America, which is the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
50 million people. That's probably 30 times larger than his audience on Fox. So I think Tucker's not going to have a problem finding an audience in this new internet age. And you remember who he just interviewed a few days ago, Elon Musk.
Right.
I tell you, I can't take this as someone else I saw on the internet mention it. I won't be surprised if something works out between Tucker and Musk to create a new streaming service for videos, a platform for Tucker that he can basically recreate his show and get it out to millions more people through the platform of Twitter.
Oh yeah, and Musk would love that because he bought something for $44 billion that's now worth half that, and he's looking for ways to add value. I mean, a guy who comes out and he rolled it right at his normal time slot, 8 o'clock.
Yeah.
And to have that many people look at it, it was less than 2.5 minutes, but it was great. And we sent a message out about it earlier today. It was part of the VIP news briefing. We're going to talk about it some more because the things that he said in there about truth, we think directly related to Grassfire, because our motto, our mission for years has been report truth that empowers you to take action. And so that's our goal. And, that's what he's telling people, to look out and watch for these people and hear their voices, because there are people out there still talking about the truth. And we're one of them. That's why we need your help as a VIP member, so that we can continue to have a revenue stream that keeps us in the ballgame.
Yeah, we're not funded by any kind of political party or deep-pocketed backers. It's really just grassroots citizens. We have one of the largest conservative networks in the country. And we're so thankful for our VIPs. And if you're not a VIP, would you become a VIP? Would you help us? $15 a month. You'll save that much back just doing one fax a month with us. We've got so many more resources. We've got an impact portal so you can get your message straight to your members of Congress. And most importantly, you can be helping Grassfire be one of those channels for truth and independent thinking in our society today. So thank you, Brian. This has been a great report. And thank you to our team members. For Brian Connor, this is Steve Elliott for Grassfire.